Right. Erik learns the hard way. 4. Let's talk about evolution. I'm not talking about the kind where your goldfish turns into a parakeet. I don't buy that. I'm talking about your business. And I'm serious, if your business does not evolve, it will die. You ever get into a warm bath, or maybe it's a hot bath, and you get started and you're in there and you're like, this feels so great. And then after a little while, you realize the water's not as hot as it was when you got in. In fact, it's getting a little uncomfortable. And then you're at that difficult stage. Like, do you get out then, or do you drain some water and put some more hot water in? But then if you move at all, it gets even colder. So you just try to sit still and not do anything and pretend that it's warm. How many of us have done that professionally? We know that things have changed around us, but we don't really want to move. And the longer we stay like that, the more uncomfortable change becomes. Inevitably, if we don't address our need to change and grow, our business dies. Our former business models no longer apply, and we can literally be out of a job. Or we're in a job and we're doing it and it's just killing us. It's killing our soul. And we think, oh man, I've got to make some kind of change, but I don't know how or don't know what. Here are some steps that I think are general principles that apply regardless of what industry you're in or where you are in your career path. A little bit of history. When I talk about evolution, I've changed a few times. Started college and I was going to be, I think, a psychology major. Everybody raise your hand that was going to be a psychology major. It's all of us, right? Then a biology major, and I changed again. Well, during this time, I was looking for employment and took the only job I could. It was as a janitor. And one day, and I think it was probably March, I looked outside while I was mopping and I thought, man, it'd be nice to have a job outdoors. So I just called up the first nursery in the phone book and ended up planting trees. To be more specific, I ended up digging holes for trees. The year following that, I started my own landscaping business, ran that for a couple years, and sold it when I left college. During this time, I was trying to develop my photography business. And so I was doing pictures for engagements or pictures for anybody who wanted them. Wasn't making a lot, but I was learning a lot. After college, 2 years of grad school, then I took a job at a college. I worked in-house in the PR marketing department, was a partner during that time in a small design firm, also started a custom darkroom on the side, and began freelance photography all at the same time. Nuts, I don't recommend it. But my point is, I know something a little bit about evolution of a career, taking on different jobs and doing different things. Here's what I learned about how to do that and not lose your mind or your shirt in the process. Most of the time when we think about evolution, what we really want for ourselves is something more like a metamorphosis. We want to be like, yeah, I'll be the caterpillar and I just want to take a nap for 10 days and wake up as a beautiful butterfly, right? I mean, who doesn't want to do that with a career? Whether it's writing, it's like I want to quit my job and next week I'll get a publishing contract. Or baking or making furniture or being a videographer. It's like, I'll spend a couple weeks studying the internet and then I think I'll get my first feature film. That's not how it works. That's very exciting to think about, but that's not the reality. So while I was working at the college, doing my first and only salaried gig, I knew it was time for me to come up with something different, to pursue something else. It was going to kill me if I stayed. And I think that's more of a reflection of my personality than it was where I was working. I needed to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I'm still working on that. But at least at this point, that transition was something that I was looking at very specifically. And so I started on a process that had 4 main steps. Talk to people. Not just anybody. I mean, your mom supports you and all that stuff, but talk to people who know about the industry you want to work in. Find out who they are, get references, get referrals. You can see episode 1 about finding a mentor. Talk to them. Find out, like, okay, in your industry, doing this, this, and this, how does that work? Now, I did that with a number of different commercial photographers, and it was absolutely invaluable. He had taken me through his whole studio, and I was fascinated. Man, I didn't know anything about this world, really. And so it was all new to me. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, this is absolutely amazing. It's so cool. And please don't take this wrong, but now I know what I don't want to do. I don't want to do exactly this, what you're doing. But I really appreciate that. And you know what? In the course of maybe a 30-minute tour and talking to him during lunch, I saved myself how many months, years of figuring out that I didn't want to be in that specific area of the industry. And I learned that in an hour and a half, and it only cost me lunch. So I would tell you, talk to people. Do a test. Keep the cost low on your test. That is, you don't just run into your boss and say, that's it, I'm out of here. You can just take this and don't do that. But if you want to, let's suppose you want to make wooden pens. My wife is super into calligraphy right now, and she loves calligraphy pens. And she looks at them like, man, those are really expensive. Well, let's suppose you want to make calligraphy pens. Don't just quit your job and then go out and start researching what it's like to make calligraphy pens. Buy a little lathe and buy some wood and experiment. Try it. See if you like it. Make a few. Put in some time. As I have heard it referred to as, it's putting in your reps. It's doing this over and over until you find out you get a groove or you don't have a groove. But you won't find that out just by watching videos on the internet, or by reading about it, or by talking to people about it. You have to actually do it. And I would recommend that you do it and keep your cost low. Don't go out and get a $50,000 loan to buy this giant widget machine, and then you find out that you hate making widgets. Maybe you work for somebody who makes widgets and figure that out on their dime. Watch what happens. You've talked to some other people. You're like, yeah, I think I want to try that. Then you did step 2 and you tried it and you did the thing. Now what you need to do is you need to step back and look at it. Is this working? Is this a thing that's sustainable? Do I really like making widgets? Can I make a living making widgets? And as part of that, I would recommend that you get an outside perspective, talk to some people. Maybe it's your mentor, maybe it's somebody else, and say, is this any good? Should I pursue this? What do you think about this? Then listen to what they say. It's going to be hard, and you're going to have to get multiple perspectives because there may be different people who have different opinions on your things. But if it's universally like, yeah, this rocks, you should move forward on this, that tells you something. If universally they're like, yeah, I don't think this is happening for you, you really need to do some soul searching, which is the second part of this. Yes, you should ask outside people about your work and what they think about where you should go. But you need to talk to yourself about this. You really need to do some soul searching and look at it and say, is this realistic? Is this what I really want to do? And you have to be honest about the answer that you find. Well, let's suppose you've gone through those things and you say, yeah, it's time for me to make a change. I think I need to do something. Don't let fear of change stop you from changing. It's from Tony Robbins. He says, change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. The reason Tony Robbins said that is because a lot of people experience that. We know we should change. We know we should do something different, but we're afraid to do it. We let that fear paralyze us and keep us in the bathwater as it's getting colder and colder and colder. And we know we need to do something, but we're afraid to. So when I knew it was time for me to quit my day job, I was still so paralyzed, I couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do. I had to rehearse it every day at the end of the day for I don't know how long before I could figure out, okay, I got to do this. And even then, what I had to do is I wrote my letter of resignation, let's say this is it, and I waited until the offices were closed. I answered to 3 different bosses. One was the president and 2 vice presidents I was a direct report to. And I thought, I got to do something that I can't take it back. I can't change my mind. So I wrote my letter of resignation and I slipped it under their locked office doors. So there's the glass door. I can see my letter of resignation on the other side of the door and I can't take it back. So I'm like, well, I'm a freelancer now. So I went to the second office and the third office and slid it under. That led to the next chapter of my life. That was 25 years ago. And here we are. Erik learns the hard way. And I'm not kidding you. It was almost as hard starting this YouTube channel. I can get into that another time. But it was difficult. And so when you're thinking about changing jobs, changing careers, evolving professionally, and you think it's difficult, let me tell you, you are not alone. It's a very difficult thing. It's scary, but I'm telling you, it'll kill you if you don't. I hope this gave you some courage and maybe some insight, and I would love to hear your stories relating to this. If this was useful, helpful, please share it with a friend. The little thumbs up they tell me helps with statistics. Go for it. Subscribe if you want to. But I want to add value to your journey. And if you have ideas as to how I can do that, please let me know. Thanks.